and now subsequently taking Lukwago to court today. At times, the way things are happening, you may think it's a film, but I think it could be like it's a reality show where we're seeing so many things happening and which are fundamentally impacting on our country. What is happening now has been the arrest of Lukwago, which I think, first of all, I think it is the manner in which he was arrested was, in a way, high-handed, because that we are being told that the soldiers who went to arrest him went and jumped over his wall, entered his sitting room, went to his bedroom, and got him. And actually, they assaulted, accosted his wife, which I think was uncalled for. But in the same breath, so many things have happened. We have seen the unanimity of Ugandans saying that where is he, until when he was taken to court. And in a way, it's good that government heard the cries of the people of the population. You know, it's unfortunate. Mr. Lukwago, among the things that I've been saying, just like the other one was called Mr. Update, Lukwago could easily be called Mr. Rule of Law. you know, they've been talking about rule of law. So when you are Mr. Rule of Law, you are actually, even when I saw him in the magistrate court, it was as if he was comfortable because he was in court. You know, because I think for him, he has always been thinking, he always thinks that court is good, even when most of his people, that is the opposition.
Well, when you come from the basement,
are saying most of the people in the opposition are saying, will be saying that they're not believing in courts. For him, he's always believing in the rule of law, believing in the courts. So it was unfortunate that maybe he passed where he passed before he went. Then, having said that, we are at times at a risk where we see people who are people getting radicalized. I can give an example of Iran. In Iran, when they killed Khamenei, the Ayatollah, he fought with Israel for 12 days. He was ready to negotiate for a ceasefire. When they killed him, and they brought on board radicalized people, they were willing to fight for a year and many years. They don't care what they're destroying. So I think as a country, we need to be cognizant of those facts. We need to treat our people well, even when they are being arrested. And, you know, at the end of the day, even people need to take responsibility. Yes, they were sent to arrest him, but they never told them that if you're arresting him, you go and molest his wife. Okay? Those ones who went to arrest and did that, maybe they should be brought to book. Because yes, they told them you can arrest, but they didn't say go and arrest in such a manner and do things which are outside the law.
You worked at the Uganda Human Rights Commission for some time, and that issue of the manner in which people are being arrested has featured highly when you look at the records from Uganda Law Society, other organizations that track issues of rule of law in this country. Where exactly are we going wrong? The manner in which people are being arrested?
Possibly the people who are arresting are being overzealous. You know, when you get somebody who is overzealous, for example, when you go to arrest Lukwago and he's sleeping, you could actually surround his house. And so you can surround his house, nobody goes out, and you get that person. But when you're overzealous, you even want to see that I can go and do this thing in 20 minutes to please the person who sent me. And the person who sent you never told you that when you get there, you slap this one and do this and do this and do this. And maybe they need to be trained how to do that. They need to be trained how to do that. They need to be trained to tell people their rights. You know, like for example, before, when he had been arrested, nobody knew what charges were being preferred against him. So everything was saying was speculative. And you know, like it's good that somebody is arrested. We know why he's being arrested, and then he's taken to court.
All right. Let's hear from the Honorable Asuman Basalirwa, who has now joined us. Honorable Basalirwa, you have also been following what has been happening in this country. We are trying to look at the political temperature. Where are we going wrong, and what do we need to do as a country to try and address the situation the way it is now?
Well, thank you very much, Kenneth, and I want to thank my brother Mulumba for putting perspective in this issue. But I think I don't want us to run away from the issues surrounding Lord Mayor Emeritus Elias Lukwago, which in effect is a continuation of some of the concerns we've been raising over time. I have been on this show with my brother here some time back, and we were having a discussion similar to the one we were having. And I think we will not get tired of having this discussion, because this is our country. We don't have another country. And it is incumbent upon us to continue speaking to those in leadership, to those with authority, to those in power, of the need to have what we call fidelity to the rule of law. Now, why is the issue of Lukwago taking everybody by surprise? Elias Lukwago himself is an embodiment of the rule of law. Elias Lukwago perceives everything in terms of the law. He's one kind of person who will tell you you are not walking in accordance with the law. You are not eating in accordance with the law. You are not laughing in accordance with the law. So a person who symbolizes the rule of law, who is an embodiment of the rule of law, would be the least person to be subjected to processes that violate the rule of law. As Nalongo observed, his wife's wedding, Lukwago could have easily reported to any agency or organ if he had been summoned. He could have easily reported. Or if he didn't report, he would have a legal reason, either to say let's go to court or something like that. So I think we only continue to observe worrying trends. Worrying in the sense that obviously what is happening to Honorable Elias Lukwago is not new. It has been happening, but that does not mean we should not continue talking about it. My appeal, Kenneth, is to those in leadership to remind themselves of their obligations under the Constitution. They are really very basic things. Now, the Honorable Elias was taken to court today, charged with misprision of treason, concealing for a lay person, concealing of treason.
Knowing treason and saying
and you don't report. Yes, concealing basically. Now, would that warrant, the kind of force that was exhibited to have him arrested? Misprision of treason? I really don't think so. Therefore, my call to every Ugandan, by the way, and you see, initially when we were talking about these things, people were not directly affected. Because Kenneth, I recall the some time back when Muslims in this country were being subjected to all forms of violations, all forms of violations, as early as the 1990s. You remember, Muslims in this country. That is when some of us began making calls towards fidelity to the law. When you were talking to me today, I spent the whole day today in the High Court, Crimes Division here, representing some Muslims who are on charges of treason, murder, from Mayuge, everywhere. But these are people, some of them have been on remand for over 10 years. The other day we were in an airport, in 2018 we were in an airport. I was telling Mr. Museveni that you see, you don't make a mockery of the criminal justice system where people are arrested and investigations are done later. This case of Elias, don't get surprised if they tell you investigations are still ongoing with what he has gone through. You are talking about political arrests. There are people who have been on remand longer than activists who were arrested in 2021 or 2020. So as we speak for them, we should also speak for those who have been there earlier. In Parliament, I remember bringing a resolution to have the Human Rights Committee go to Luzira to ascertain the prison conditions of Dr. Vesni. Because at that time there were complaints. Fortunately, the presiding officer then allowed. We went to Luzira. And while there, I don't know how my brother was in Human Rights Commission missed that out. While there, we interacted with an inmate who had been on remand for more than 15 years. And how did we get to know? As we were walking, this person was shouting in the window, MPs, I am here. I have been here for over 15 years. Then we took interest and said, let's go and interact with him. And indeed, when we came to Parliament, we reported. And the Attorney General was asked to explain, how does somebody spend 15 years on remand?
There's another one was released in Imbarara who had spent 28 years.
Yeah, no, you can spend 28 years if, for example, you have gone through trial.
He had not gone through trial.
So, these are things that create a lot of, uncertainty. And I'll tell you, Kenneth, there is a lot of fear and tension in this country. I am sure from where you lie as a journalist, there is a lot of self-censorship going on in the media. There is a platform of lawyers where I am. They cannot even dare talk about I've been provoking them ever since the Honorable Elias Lukwago was arrested. Say, colleagues, what is your... Everybody is quiet. I am very sure Justice Baguma, who issued the summons, I don't know what is going through his mind now. I'm not so sure what is going through his mind now. So
the summons to General Mo's...
Yes, exactly. So we may live in a pretense that things are okay. People are bleeding. And I'll tell you, there are basically three scenarios that are likely to happen. Number one, people are likely to go mute, to keep quiet. You call somebody, ask them, say, ndeka. Number two, people are likely to flee the country because of uncertainties. Number three, there will be a category who will speak and will end up in jail. Those are the three scenarios. And I'm very sure Ugandans are calculating which scenario they will belong to. And depending on who you talk to, they must be calculating. So, these are really very simple and basic things. Matters of arrest. Arrest, by the way, is a legitimate issue.
Anyone can be arrested.
The Constitution. I'll tell you, to show you that an arrest is very legitimate. The law even empowers you, an ordinary citizen, Kenneth, to arrest a person you suspect to have committed an offense or is about to commit an offense. The law is really that liberal. And the law also tells you how you treat a person who has been arrested. Now, why is it very difficult for us to follow those basic, guidelines established under the law? Now that Honorable Elias Lukwago is in court, who is going to complain? Who is going to complain? Because ideally, that's where this whole process should have been. Okay? And I don't think anybody is going to come here and say, why did you take him to court? No. That's the point we are making. That if Basalirwa is suspected of committing an offense, let them be summoned to police, or let investigations happen and the courts will issue criminal summons. Because Kenneth, is a different issue if I defy either police summons or court summons, rather than going through processes that are not understandable. It is not good for any of us.
All right. Now, I've been following discussions on social media and even on other platforms as people discuss what is going on. And some people have been saying that probably it's not even a matter of law. It could be politics that are at play. Honorable Mulumba, is it politics using the law to fight political battles? Is it something that we can deal with, probably with the political lens?
First of all, just like Honorable Basalirwa said, if you take somebody to court, if you take somebody to court and charges are preferred to that person, you stop speculating, because now it is clear that they're saying we've arrested you because of ABCD. Having said that, most of the things that have happened, it is the manner in which the arrest was conducted. Shouldn't we also know how to arrest professionals? Should you arrest a doctor who is going to theater, who is in theater operating somebody because somebody is going to die? So why should they say that the person who arrested wanted that person to die? Now, for example, on this case, Lukwago was saying a day earlier that he's going to serve. He's looking for, to serve someone. Couldn't they wait for him and they nab him because he was taking himself to where the service, where they're going to do that?
The question then would be, is it wrong to serve somebody? There's a discussion there. Some people have been saying it shouldn't have been Lukwago to actually serve. They're court clerks. I mean, there are people working in his law firm who should be, taking those summons. Doesn't have to be him. I'm sure you've had that discussion.
I believe that's now secondary, because now, for example, a charge has been preferred, that is misprision of treason, and that is why
so it has nothing to do with him wanting to serve the general.
Exactly, because that would be speculation. That would be speculation. Now that I've said that, I think first of all, when you arrest an advocate, a counsel for somebody, in the midst of that, whatever, you need to be very ready that when you're taking him, you arrest him, take him to court, and say that the charges being preferred to you are ABCD. It is going to save so many people a lot of trouble. Actually, one of the things like I could agree with the Asuman is that I was seeing something on TikTok from a bishop. There's a bishop. You're looking at people who are worried. Like before somebody mentioning anything says, I am ready to die. like somebody first of all makes a will.
Disclaimer. Before they say what they want to.
I'm ready to die because of ABCD. I think maybe that one. As a country, we need reassurance about what's happening. Yes, people need to be careful what they're saying. But I think the people need to be reassured. People are scared about what could happen. And I also think the people who are sent to carry out the arrests, they are not told to go and molest people. So if they go and do that, they should be brought to book. I don't understand, why should somebody go and start looking for Lukwago under the breasts of Lukwago's wife? Lukwago is not there. So if that happened, because that was an allegation, if it happened, that's why it should be brought to book. Should be told, how did you do this thing?
All right, let's go to Honorable Basalirwa before I actually go for a break. And I want you to also respond to this issue of people saying that this could be beyond the law. It could be politics at play, and probably you people who are in politics need to actually find a way of solving some of these issues. There can be issues in court, but at the same time, they can be using the courts to settle, political scores.
But it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable to use, force or to use legal processes to settle political, contestations. Political contestations ideally should be settled politically. And let us know the issues. Those who think this is political, let's know the issues.
It's about competition for power.
Let's know, yes. If it's about competition for power, so what? Shouldn't we compete? Is that the argument?
Power is good. You should be competing.
Shouldn't we compete? Should we abandon participating in political processes? So I think even if you were to argue that it is politics,
you can go home and do other things and leave the politics to
yeah,
somebody.
but then
somebody else is going to come up.
No. Then maybe perhaps I would have no problem with that. Then we change the constitution, and by the way, we change the constitution. We declare that there will be no elections or no political competition, and then whoever defies that new constitutional order will then be brought to book. But as long as the constitutional order calls for political competition, political processes, don't expect that people will not occupy the political space. But even if you were to argue that it is politics being used, politics cannot be, played. Politics as a game can never be played outside the law. It is the law that sets the boundaries, the limits, the do's and the don'ts. Politics is not played in isolation of the law. It is not in the abstract. So I would think that even if we are talking about resolving these issues politically, let us be mindful and guided by what the law says.
All right.
Thank you, Anderson. First of all, our constitution and our laws are very clear. You don't need to tell people anything about them. It's just a question of the rule of the law. It's a question of not making mockery of the law. When, for example, you arrest somebody and that somebody is arraigned in court, people keep quiet because they're saying, now we know where you are. And we are waiting for due process to take place. So whoever is doing whatever is doing, at times I also we must take cognizance of government, that even when people were saying that where is this man, the man was taken to court, because the government knows that it has to go to court, which actually echoes what Asuman was saying, because he said that even if whatever you do, there is no shortcut. At the end of the day, you are going to go somewhere and there's going to be a conviction, or they're going to be released, there's going to be an appeal, things like that. So I really think, and maybe I also think one other thing, it's not even at times telling other people, but I think we need to empower institutions. Let institutions come up. For example, there was that speculation which was taking place before. They charged Mulumba about summons. Who issues the summons? Summons are issued by court. So actually, it's not a lawyer that issues the summon. If you want to go for somebody, you go for the judge, because it's actually you are just a courier. Taking a summon to somebody is just a courier. So I think we need to look, how do we empower institutions? And the institutions, how could those institutions come and talk about? And then we need also to liberate our people. You know, it was absurd when I was seeing a bishop saying, I am ready to die. You know, the recording was for around 3 minutes and 40 seconds. He took 2 minutes and 40 seconds talking about he's ready to die, he's going to go to heaven, for him everything. Then Omnamwa took 1 minute. and the disclaimer, the subject matter took 1 minute or less. And this gentleman took around 3 minutes talking about how he's ready to die. Certainly everybody should be ready to die, because for us, we Muslims, and the Muslims, every time you die, you know that anytime you can die, and it can happen. But I think we don't need we need to be and we need to be fair. You know, this thing, like I was telling you, this one was Mr. Rule of Law, Mr. Rule of Law, Mr. Rule of Law. Now, when Mr. Rule of Law, it becomes bad. Yeah.
All right. Let's hear from you, Honorable Asuman Basalirwa. Yes. What would be the best way forward? You know, you as a political party leader, you have had all these forums, including IPOD, which we actually thought would be at the center of addressing that sort of enmity, confrontation in our politics, so that we can have politics with civility. I mean, it's a concern that some people have, especially when we come out of elections or before we go for elections. There's a lot of tension. Like you rightly said, some people are guarded even about what they would say, even what they would do. Yet, they have a right, it's right in the Constitution, to speak out.
I think the biggest mistake we should never make as a country is to destroy institutions, to undermine institutions, or disempower institutions. It's a very big mistake. It is counterproductive. It works against everybody,
including those who are undermining.
First of all, if you look at where we are coming from, Kenneth, I want you to look at how the late Paul Kaonga Semogere and the like used to challenge this regime. They would go to courts and they would get victories against government in the courts. And the courts were very proactive. The courts were an attack on the judiciary, an attack on the courts attracted solidarity from all judicial officers. You recall when the Black Mamba invaded, the courts, the judges protested. The principal judge then, Ogola, even used his other talent as a poet to formulate a poem describing what had actually happened. So, if we emasculate institutions, definitely the country is destined for disaster. So one of the things we should be doing as a country is to ensure that we insulate our institutions from the excesses of the politics. If we don't allow institutions to be independent, you don't want parliament to be independent, you don't want the judiciary to be independent, and you want to have a one-person's show, then definitely that is very dangerous for the country. So for me, as a politician, as a practitioner, my biggest concern relates to how our institutions work. If you are a court, for example, if you are a court, how, for God's sake, are you remanding a person who, for all intents and purposes, is unwell? For all intents and purposes, why would they be remanded? Why? And they are pleading for an orthopedic mattress. Why would they be remanded? So the only way, by the way, we can address some of these excesses is if institutions like the judiciary stand up to those excesses A person is arraigned before court, has been tortured, is bleeding. They are not supposed to go to prison. They belong to the hospitals. They don't belong to the prisons. So we would be glad if institutions like the judiciary became assertive and challenged these excesses using their mandate. An institution like Parliament. Parliament ideally should be a voice of the voiceless. So you would ordinarily expect that these are things that concern Parliament. And I'm glad that our leader in Parliament, the leader of opposition, has been convening, shadow cabinet, opposition caucus, calling on the speaker to convene Parliament, and we have these matters discussed. I think it's good for the country. So, institutional building, institutional autonomy, respect for institutions, because the biggest challenge we are facing, Kenneth, is one of impunity. In this country, we don't lack good laws. We are not short of good laws. As a matter of fact, we might be one of the countries with the widest, broadest pieces of legislation on almost every aspect. But the challenge we have is disrespect for these laws. So it's not even an issue of absence of laws or absence of institutions. It is about impunity. It's about disrespect for the laws, disrespect for the institutions. And that's where our focus should be, all of us as Ugandans.
All right. Let's go to the comments that are coming from Mulumba. Your quick responses.
Well, first of all, the only person immune from court processes while they are office holders is the president. And that's what our constitution says. All of us are not immune from court processes. So whether you are...
Even when you are president in waiting?
Well, it doesn't matter unless we want... If we want it to be so, then let's amend the constitution. After all, the Mulumbas enjoy majorities in parliament. That's one. Number two, the basic procedure of an arrest, by the way. One, if you are going to arrest anybody, you go to their places. Introduce yourself, the purpose of you are going there, in the language they understand. You have to tell them you are under arrest. If they don't resist, you should not even handcuff them if they don't resist. But if they resist or put up, force, apply equal force, okay, and then take them to a gazetted place for not more than 48 hours. And after 48 hours, they either produce them to court or have them released. It's really as simple and straightforward as that.
They encourage that person also to go to the RC, the LC.
Exactly. You see, procedurally. In the past, my mother is also one chairperson of her village. In the past, every arrest, the RC that eventually evolved into LC would be consulted, and they played a very key role in the criminal justice system. Now you can be arrested in an area, and the OC station of the area is not aware. So ideally that's what it goes. But I am glad and I am happy with the comments that have come in. They show how the public is concerned about the rule of law, and I am really very delighted by that kind of consciousness from the citizen. All right,
let's go to Honorable Mulumba. But Honorable Mulumba, there is a direct comment coming in from one of your colleagues, and that is the Honorable Basalirwa Kafufu. Says, I'm listening to your program with Honorable Basalirwa and Meddie Mulumba. However, what I did not get properly is the point or argument Honorable Meddie Mulumba made. He sounded as if he was condemning the Bishop of Mityana for declaring that he, the bishop, was ready to die for speaking truth to power about the arrest of Elias Lukwago. Meddie sounded as if he was offended by the statements of the bishop. Can he clarify a little bit on that?
I think I clarified. I said so many people are worried, they're scared, and I told you that it was more telling where a bishop makes a statement, a video recording of 4 minutes, and of the 4 minutes, 3 minutes is making a disclaimer, is saying that I am ready to die, because this is supposed to be a straightforward thing. It is just, the man is just saying that you people, they have arrested Lukwago wrongly. They should have arrested him well. It is as clear as that. But if he starts by saying, I'm ready to die, if I'm going to heaven, things like that, I'm not even taking it in a bad way. I'm saying, everybody is scared.
You're concerned that people are scared about.
Yes, I'm concerned people are scared.
Yeah.
You look at this one, is telling us, when you are talking, you must know SFCs around. When you are talking, this is going to take place. Nobody is safe. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that I'm castigating him.
Yeah.
Actually, by the way, to say the least, that bishop was extremely brave. Because he went on record, on a video, to say that. But I'm saying, if a bishop is saying that, people are worried. People are scared. We need people not to be that scared. But I told you as we were starting that we've had a roller coaster of so many things. It's as if we had a live show. You remember we started with the motorcar. Rose. The Rose became Rose. Then witchcraft became witchcraft. Then Oboth is now speaker. Then even Tayeba is the speaker. Then now again, I had
the speed at which events are happening.
The speed at, and we're not concluding most. We're not concluding most of the things. Now we are in Lukwago. Now I saw something about Kasolo that they're investigating because of the money and the women. Now you just says you don't understand.
Probably next week we'll be focusing on another issue.
You don't understand how this country is governed. You don't understand how this country has so many milamwas, so many topics. So I think maybe we need us as a country also to be focused to see what like Asuman was saying. We talked about this thing some years ago, even before Jeremos was the CDF. And somehow you just talk about it. Now talking about it, you go to sleep and you forget about it. Maybe some of those things need to be resolved. We need a resolution for some of those things. And I think that is why we have problems. Can you imagine that, for example, when you are looking at the Rolls Royce, that even the vehicle that tarnished the speaker's image was from the internet? That her vehicle was a different color and this one was black and I don't know, but nevertheless, that one happened. And the investigation is still going on.
Your closing remark as we come to the end of the
so I think maybe I think maybe like I was saying, I'm an advocate myself, and I believe professionals should be arrested they should be cognizant of how they are arresting somebody. Because if they arrest you and you're in court representing somebody may think that they're arresting you because you're representing that person. They cannot arrest a medical doctor, practitioner, who is in theater. Because if you're in theater and they come and arrest you, this person is going to die. If he dies, then it means that you've actually more or less killed that person. And I also think that those people who are going to effect the arrests, they should try to do it professionally. Because even, before they were saying that it's powers from above. But above is not telling you that you go and slap people and take them saying, you go and arrest this person. So I would think that people should they should be trained to do how they're going to conduct the arrests. And I'm glad, by the way, that government listened when they talked about Lukwago, and Lukwago was presented and taken to court. And where I saw him, he was, I think, more comfortable in court. I'm not saying that he wants to be there, but at least he knows that now the process has started. And we are watching, we are waiting, we want to see what is going to happen. Right. And we want the institutions to work. Okay. Actually, we want institutions to work, we want institutions to be empowered. We want even the judiciary to come up and see how they're going to defend us. Because, for example, we saw Law Society refuse to meet the judiciary. But now we want the judiciary also to come up and make a statement about this.
All right, very quickly, Honorable Asuman Basalirwa, in a few seconds, your closing remarks. Because time is not on our side.
Well, my call is for us to build institutions, to create institutional autonomy, to respect the laws that we make ourselves, and also to wish all African countries success in the World Cup.
All right. With that, we come to the end of Spectrum. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for creating time to be here.